Hi, my name's Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. And if my voice is starting to sound hoarse and crack, it's because we've been recording for quite a while. But we're not done yet, because we've got one more very exciting thing to do, which if you can read words or titles, you can probably tell that we are going to review Ted Lasso Season 1, which feels like a weird thing because it's an Avatar: The Last Airbender podcast. But, well, frankly, I don't care because, I want to talk about Ted Lasso. So we're going to do this. Bear with us. I do care. I care very much about all your feelings and what you think of our show and stuff, of course.
No,
but
Shawn told me behind the scenes he doesn't care. He was like, you know what? He named people personally. I don't care. I'm kidding.
I did.
We appreciate you all.
Barry, I don't care what you want me to review. I'm just kidding. Long story short, we both crammed.
Barry seems like he plays soccer. Seems like he's played soccer before for some reason. I don't know.
Like we've seen pictures of Barry playing soccer. Yeah,
Maybe
that's kind
why.
of what there was like an innate connection between Barry and this show for me that I haven't have no real evidence to make. But we did an Apple TV like free trial for a week, and we both crammed in like 13 episodes in a week, and had fairly strong-ish feelings about it, so we just decided to talk about it. And that's my introduction. Hey, that's Chris Ford, the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. And I forget if I said that or not already. It's getting pretty late. So, Chris, what are you up to this week? We've recorded a couple episodes, but in none of them have we actually talked about your week, what you've been up
to. Just doing housework. Just keep doing that. Yeah, just working from home. Not much has changed. I've been getting a lot more action figures. Wife says I have a problem. Also, she didn't give me anything for my anniversary. But what she got me was that her words were, I was like, what are you going to give me for anniversary? She was like, I just will allow you to keep buying stuff.
The green light to get yourself something for your anniversary.
No, she said keep buying stuff.
Oh, that's big picture. I like that.
Exactly. And she might have didn't really know what she was saying, but I'm gonna take that as, hey, just keep buying whatever you want. and she won't say anything. She didn't say like, oh, just buy yourself something. Just keep buying stuff. So I'm gonna take that as a big green light.
When you read back that statement in court, her lawyer will be unresponsive. He will just be like, you know what? He's got you right there. You said,
yeah.
The implications of which are obvious and semantically important. Well, hey, happy belated anniversary, by the way. At this point, we'll have been, by the time we record, it will have been 11 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yep.
Congratulations. That's exciting. Also,
actually, yeah. Right now, it's 12 o'clock. Oh, yeah, it's that day. Okay.
Also, at some point in here, we will have gone to, which I didn't think about this when I was talking about recording episodes, we will have gone to Planet Comicon.
Oh, yeah.
And so if this episode, thankfully, will just kind of get flexed around and moved wherever it needs to, because we may have some Comic-Con talk or something. I don't know.
Maybe we should go live at Planet Comicon.
We could go. We've both got solid phones. We could probably make something happen. Let's think about it. That's a good poll. But we're just excited to have the opportunity to go back to the con. I'm sure we will both take lots of precautions, but very exciting. And if you're watching this and you're like, well, I just watched them doing a live episode at the con. Well, I'm sorry that I recorded out of order because I didn't think about this at the time. Okay, yeah, so let's jump in, and we're just going to give a real quick synopsis of each of the 10 episodes in Season 1, one at a time. And when I say real quick synopsis, I mean like the sentence that I'm about to read off of Wikipedia for each one. So the pilot episode, essentially this American football coach, not even FBS, but FCS football coach, so Division II is what it used to be called. FCS coach gets hired to coach a Premier League football team in England, which is essentially the highest level of soccer that they have there, by this lady who's essentially using Ted, aka Jason Sudeikis, to not super discreetly kind of just ruin everything and tear down the organization from the inside. And so pilot episode, they get over there, and some introductions, and you get some plot laid out. And as far as pilots go, it's very informative and amusing. Next episode's called Biscuits. On his first day at AFC Richmond, Ted attempts to win
I
over...
feel like we should say that we might be spoiling things.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is Season 1. What's your... Well, I guess we can do it without spoilers.
I mean, just just wanted to just give a. I don't care what we do. I just want to give a spoiler warning. In
Oh,
case
that's
you're gonna
fair.
spoil something.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's spoiler alerts. But I'll try to be gentle in my reading. Episode 2 is called Biscuits, and it's really a lot about Ted trying to win over management and his players, and it's not going real great. Everybody's giving him lots of side eyes and things. He's clearly not super comfortable to them. You know, he makes it seem like he's doing fine, and that's very important to the whole story, is that it makes it seem like he's doing fine. And third episode is called Trent Krim, the Independent, is where this news person, this reporter for the Independent, does a profile on Ted that's initially intended to be sort of embarrassing and shameful, but it has really gratifying ending. Next episode, number 4, is called For the Children, and it's about sort of a charitable event where they raise money for, I forget what specific type of charity, but something for the children. And his Ted's boss, her ex-husband, who she's essentially trying to humiliate and ruin his favorite thing in life, he shows up, and it changes the whole dynamic of this charity event. Episode 5 is called Tan Lines, where Ted's wife and child show up, and Ted and his wife are in the middle of some sort of marital turmoil, and this episode is mostly about that. Episode 6 is called Two Aces, where the biggest jackass on Ted's team, he's trying to sort of light a fire under him, and they have this new guy essentially comes off the injury list, and he's really good. And so they essentially want to get this a-hole kid, Jamie, back on the roster and have two aces, have two offensive stars working together. And it doesn't go super well, unfortunately. Episode 7 is called Make Rebecca Great Again, where they travel to Liverpool to play against their rivals, which is a place they've not won in ages. And it's a very partying type of episode. Everybody's doing crazy party things, young people stuff. Episode number 8 was my personal favorite because it's called The Diamond Dogs, which is the name of my slow pitch softball team in Lawrence, Kansas. And that's exciting me. And so the Diamond Dogs, Ted and his cohorts, his assistant coach, Beard, their equipment guy, Nate, and Higgins, who is, I forget what his director of football operations or whatever, are thinking of themselves as some sort of relationship problem-solving brain trust. And also trying to get Roy, their grizzled, grumpy veteran on the team, to get with this other girl. They're trying to help him out through his little relationship problems. Number 9 is All Apologies, where essentially Rebecca, here's big spoiler alert, Rebecca, Ted's boss, kind of comes clean to him about the entire thing, about her whole setup and her whole plans and how bad it was. And so very emotional roller coaster of an episode. And then episode 10 is It's the Hope That Kills You, where they're playing the last match of the season, and essentially if they win or in a very specific circumstance tie, and depending on the outcome in another game, they get to remain in the Premier League. But if they lose, they get, I forget the name of it, not
demotion,
relegated. They get relegated.
Yeah, relegated.
I thought demotion too. Relegated.
Yeah, because you can get promotion.
Championship. Yeah, you can get promoted, which is kind of the next season's story arc, I hope. Kind of, finger crossed. But if they lose this game or tie, but not in the right circumstance, they get relegated to a lower league because English football tries to make people not tank, and that's pretty exciting because over here stateside we got a lot of tanking. So that's a very quick synopsis, full of spoilers, and I do apologize. But that being said, 10 episodes, very crisp, and they're 25-minute episodes or whatever. So it was a quick binge. I don't think they were 40-minute episodes, were they? I think they were.
No, they're like 30 minutes.
30-minute episodes, yeah. And so quick, comfortable binge. Apple TV, if you haven't done your free trial yet, you have that option. Or you can wait till the end of season 2 and they'll have the full seasons up there, and you do your free trial and binge through both. Would also be cool. Chris, that's really all I have to say. Do you want to give any kind of summary thoughts, favorite characters, favorite storylines before we go into some ratings?
So the premise, one thing, this is all based off of a random skit that NBC did about when, because they started to show Premier League soccer games on NBC, so they did this little skit with with Jason Sudeikis as Ted Lasso, and they redo a lot of the same jokes and stuff. But that character in that was a little more angry, and I love how they changed him into more of a very positive, kind of wisdom, like Mr. Rogers, has a little bit of Iroh in him, I feel like. Because this is not the stereotypical male role model, I guess. And I always like that when a show introduces a character who is fairly balanced. But one thing I was afraid of, so as the show go on, like Ted is like the brightest, most chipperest person. One thing I was afraid of was that they're going to make him too unrelatable and make him too perfect, right? So even when his wife comes in, they're having problems. I'm like, oh, let me guess, like he's too happy for her. Like that's not the problem with their relationship. The problem is just that she just feels like she's fallen out of love with him, and he's dealing with that, and he's not dealing with it in just like oh, well, that's okay, things are gonna be better. No, he's dealing with it, and I really appreciated the aspect of the character, because that humanizes him a lot more. And when you humanize a character who's very positive all the time, that can make you think like, oh, well, I can be positive, right? It's not just some fairly mythical character up there who's just positive all the time, unrelatable. Now you can kind of relate him, like, well, if he can kind of keep his positivity, maybe I can keep mine. So I really like Ted as a character. Like I love watching him. I love the random stories that he goes into. Sometimes you can kind of tell when he's about to drop some wisdom. I love that. For some reason, I go back and I think about. Oh, never mind. That was episode season 2. But he has this really good press conference, and I love one of the things I love about Ted is that he's really great at winning over people, and he does this throughout. And the side character that I probably enjoy most is Trent Green from The Independent. Because, is it Trent Green?
Krim.
It is Trent Grimm.
Krim.
Yes.
See?
Krim. Yep. Because to me, he is the character that is going to keep Ted honest, because he is in journalism. And that's supposed to be what journalism is supposed to do. It's not supposed to be like, hey, let me get some ziggy headliner. It's supposed to be to keep establishments or keep people honest and deliver honest truth. It's not about like, what can I sell? What type of story, what type of idea can I, or thought or opinion can I already have? And then I'll just gather stuff to support that idea, right? Like if you watch, Undisputed in the morning or something with Skip Bayless, like he's not really looking to have an objective opinion. He's like,
I think
when
Skip
did
wakes up
LeBron
every morning and says out loud to himself, how can I behave like an asshole today?
Yeah.
No offense, Skip. It's some offense, Skip Bayless, if you watch this.
Things I enjoy watching that show because I enjoy Shannon Sharp, just antics and stuff like that. Like
he's
they have
a genuinely entertaining guy. Yes,
like I laugh out loud at Shannon Sharp all the time. If it wasn't for him, I would not be watching that show at all. Skip isn't that important to me watching the show, but oftentimes he's and even people who are like pro athletes, like there's for every Skip Bayless who's against LeBron, there is I forgot his name. He's on a show called First Take.
Collinsworth? Cal?
No, not Colin.
Cowherd? It's not Colin.
No,
okay.
No, not Colin Cowherd. Why can't I think? Nick Wright.
Yeah.
Like he loves LeBron James. He like every time they'll be talking about something, he'll bring up LeBron James. Like they'll talk about like, football players are now a little bit more active and vocal. It's like, and this goes back to LeBron James, who does this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm riding this person. Like journalism. Sorry, I'm going off a tangent about
What's
journalism.
Right with Nick Wright? Is that what it was? No, What's Right with Nick Wright? Something like that. The radio. That was like his 810 radio show.
Oh, it wasn't okay. I don't listen to radio like that.
I don't blame you.
But journalism isn't about having an opinion and taking and pulling just little things here and there to support that opinion. It's about seeing the whole picture and then giving an opinion, an honest opinion, right? And I feel like that's what this character does, which I always like. I feel like he keeps Ted honest. Like he goes around, he interviews him and everything, and he comes away with, because the boss lady, she sets us up thinking that he's going to kill Ted in the interview, and he ends the interview and he follows Ted around all day, and he ends up being like this guy that's more to him. Like he will go the extra mile to make people feel welcome and everything. And granted, he probably will fail, but I'm not going to laugh at him when he does fail, because I know he's going to try his hardest when at it. And so I appreciate that, and I've appreciated him in other interviews, right? Because he'll ask the honest question to get the honest answer. And for some reason, I just really like this character. The thing is, I feel like I really... Oh, and then I like Keely for some reason. I feel like her character does a lot of growing. And also this show is directed by Bill Lawrence. I love a lot of Bill Lawrence work. He is the showrunner on one of my favorite shows of all time, probably my favorite comedy of all time, Scrubs. He's the creator of Scrubs, which it feels different here because he's not the creator, kind of this. Like, it's kind of weird for him. I feel like usually all his properties come from his own thoughts, but this is something more so that's like adapted. But the thing about Bill Lawrence is that I feel like he has a knack to end things in happy endings, or somewhere around there. And so I appreciate that in the show. He has just a good, I think, outlook on life.
For like a gratifying ending. Maybe not necessarily pure joy happy ending or the campy happy ending, but a knack for a gratifying closure.
Yeah. And I'm jumping over the place here because there's one episode that it's in season 2. Now I think about it. But anyway. But the thing is, though, all right. So now it's time to harp on some things that I don't like. So those two characters I really like. One of them is a minor character. Another one is Ted. The thing is, every other character, I'm kind of just fine with them all. Like Ted and Keely, and maybe Roy. Other than that, I think they're all just fine. Like this ensemble, it's a great cast. I don't know, I feel like I'm there mostly just for Ted Lasso, which the name of the show is Ted Lasso. He is the main character. It's just, I don't know, it's just different for me that the other characters, I'm like, you know what? If they ever written out the show, I'd be like, fine. That's fine as long as it doesn't ruin, I don't know, the actual meat of the show.
Yeah, I'd say it doesn't have to necessarily lessen the overall appeal, other than, it's nice to connect to more than just a couple.
Yeah. All right, so here's my biggest complaint with the show, which... So oftentimes, like I don't know anything about soccer. Don't know anything about Premier League. Soccer seems like a fairly boring sport to play. Apparently, it's very boring. It's so boring to play and watch that they didn't put much of it in the show. Because for a show about soccer, there's really not a lot of soccer in it. I thought that they would like have more, and maybe I'll be like, oh, okay, so this is like the fun part of
they skip over massive swaths of soccer. They'll just be like, they've lost 8 straight, and you'll be like,
what? Yeah, what?
When?
8 straight? When they
like it? Well, and some of that makes it lose impact when it may not be core to that episode's story, but like it's still part of the overarching story arc we're looking for here.
Yeah, like if you watch,
it was a big gripe for me too.
Like in the episodes I watch of like Friday Night Lights, right? Like they're showing the Friday Night Lights. They're showing the football. They're showing the characters go through something on the field that was impacted by what happened outside the field. And I would have liked that. Would have liked more soccer. Also, just to learn more about soccer. Right? But maybe they did that because it's like, hey, Ted really doesn't know much about soccer. So if we showed him out there, it would just more so make noticeable that this seems like a very unrealistic situation.
I think they could have at least had snippets as sort of a newsreel of what's happening, like instead of the exposition of, they've lost 8 straight. I think there's better ways to incorporate some of that. It's just a change of pace with some action feeling in there. And I think that would have helped my perception quite a bit, personally.
Yeah. But so some other favorite storylines I liked. I liked him going through his divorce with his wife, because I think that's that's real stuff right there, right? Like sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you wonder, people question their stuff all the time, and I thought it was a fairly real depiction of a couple who didn't have the answers.
You hit on it earlier, and I should have chimed in, but it helps take a character you mentioned, like kind of humanizing him, who most of the show you're watching, you think, you're honestly thinking to yourself, is like, this is great, but he's just a little bit too over the top. But then they will throw something like that at you, and it kind of brings it back home. You're like, okay, that's, yeah, I mean, he might still be a little too over the top the other time, but it'll be something like that hits you, I don't know, hits you really hard, or feels very real and relatable the way he deals with things.
Yeah. The thing is, I actually went into the show thinking that I was going to love it a lot more than you, but you seem to love it like pretty immediately.
Yeah, I think I was hooked. If you don't mind, I give a sort of quick rundown of my vibes I took away. But yeah, I would say episode 2. I think by that point I knew I was going to really enjoy it. And we'll give ratings at the end of this, so I won't share how much or anything just yet. But by the end of episode 2, going into it with some cynicism, because we've talked a little bit about the initial skit that this was made from. Like, it was good, but it's not amazing. It's not like a Diner Lobster skit or something like that. It's a fine skit. You're making a whole TV show about it, and it's about soccer. I have no interest in soccer. I knew there was sort of romantic drama elements to it, which I despise in everything forever. So I went into it with some cynicism, but by episode 2, I was pretty won over. I like Ted for all the reasons you said. I like Keely because she has the best comedic timing in the show, maybe outside of Jason Sudeikis. I also really,
I agree.
I really like Rebecca. I think they show her as a character kind of work in the gray areas of villain, not villain. There's probably a better word for it, but throughout the early season or the early parts of the show, I think she operates in that gray area very nicely. Her as an actress and as a character in a way that is difficult, where she's not a bad person, but she is a bad person working through some bad choices and such. So she's probably my favorite character in terms of character quality other than Ted. 2 complaints is I don't always love Beard. I think Beard is very funny, but he's clearly just a plot device to kind of help things move at all in a functional way.
Sometimes he's cartoonish.
He's a little too goofy. And a little too, in a weird way, he's a little OP, right? You got this guy who just absorbs everything. He's strategic. He's good at chess. He knows a lot about life. In his own weird way, he's like an OP little plot device. It's nothing against the guy doing the acting. I just don't love how the character's written. And then I also don't like it eventually, and it's more in season 2, but Nate turns into a little asshole at some point.
He does.
And I don't like
the thing
Nate
is,
anymore.
I was just thinking that. I was like, oh, I really like Nate.
No, not later, though. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of. I mean, I'm sure they'll work that out.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope they find.
I really love the episode where he's where one thing they've been building his confidence up, right? Even when they first meet him, they're like, "Hey, what's your plan?" And he's like, "Oh no, you want to hit my plan? No, what's your plan?" Okay, hey there, fella, you got to speak up when you got there.
He's a project. They work so hard to get him to be a vocal part of the team.
Yeah. And then when he roasts everybody, I thought that was great.
Oh, that was glorious.
Yeah. And I like how Troy Kent went up to him, all intimidating, and took the papers like, no, you say it, and you say it from your heart. And then he went off. But yeah, I don't know, he's getting a little bit annoying. He's oh man, he might be suffering from a Andy Dyer situation. Remember when Andy started to become really annoying?
Yeah, he went from being the lovable guy that you rooted for
exactly.
To absolutely. I want to make one more comment on so like Beard is funny in like maybe a cartoonish way that's probably a little overdone. I love Keeley's and that actresses in general, like her comedic timing, delivery. I think that's really well done. And even like in spite of the fact that I don't like the romantic drama in anything, the way that they present sort of a both realism and comedy in that, and part of that is also the actors that play Roy and Jamie. Again, a very fine line between a little too over the top in what they're trying to do, but then they'll do something that kind of brings them back down to earth and makes you like him. But again, I'll state Ted Sudeikis does a great job, and I really do like Rebecca's character a lot. I think that's a very good character. And then I wanted to mention that my eyes watered up 2 different times in this show. I think once was when after Rebecca admits what she was doing to Ted and how that all resolves. Got me welling up a little bit. And another was in an episode where Ted actually gets legitimately mad at Rebecca, and then he makes this comment about finally getting the biscuit recipe right, because this whole time she thought he had been buying these biscuits somewhere else. But we as the audience already know that he's been making them. And I actually kind of teared up a little bit at her, like her speechlessness when she, like, the realization hits her of what he's been doing this whole time. And it's such a small thing.
See, I don't think they made that big. I think they should have made a bigger point
of her. They could have like lingered on her longer.
To me, it seemed like one of those things where the thing is, as an audience member, you're like, okay, well, this is going to come back, right? Like, eventually, she's going to find out that he's been making these biscuits, and that's going to impact her character being like, holy crap, I'm treating this person like trash, as just a pawn. He's waking up every morning making me these incredible things. But when that realization happens to her, they kind of blow it off. He just says, I'm going to crack the thing, to a point where it just seemed inconsequential.
Or like they're just not very opportunistic. I don't know. I felt Ted so much in my heart because maybe that's not what he was looking for out of that either, right? Like he wanted a good big positive reveal later, and it's like stealing his thunder, distraction, mental turmoil. Like I don't know, I felt really hard. And I'm going to recheck my statement and say 2.5 times of welling up. I also well up at the end of the episode where Ted and his wife are getting through their marital issues. Welled up at the end of that one too. So halfway on that one.
And the thing is, Shawn, is that I feel like I often get more emotional watching things than you do. And I think I might have only got emotional like one time. I don't remember what it was. It might have been the moment with his wife. Man, I don't know.
I mean, that probably is like how much you're digging into a show or like connecting with it or something. But maybe that's even why I didn't quite get as emotional with the thing with his wife, is because that was only like 3 episodes in or something like that. So maybe I just wasn't as mentally or emotionally invested yet. Because if I went back and watched it through, maybe I'd cry more this time. I don't know. But long story short, it impacted me. Do you want to do any final thoughts before we do some kind of makeshift ad hoc ratings?
So I think I had this conversation. Yeah, we had this conversation before. Ted Lasso is getting like massive rave reviews from everybody, and I'm not going to say it's overrated because I don't think it's necessarily overrated, because I think what the show does really well is that it makes you enjoy it. It's very hard not to enjoy this show, and I think anyone will enjoy watching this show, right? I think out of all the comedies I've watched, this is one I'm like, 95% of people who are going to watch is going to love this show. Like, I think the quality itself is good. It's really good quality. But to me, I don't think the quality ranks up there with the other my favorite comedies, like Community, like The Good Place, like Scrubs. Like those things, those shows I think are better and funnier, and oftentimes have better story elements. Community doesn't really dive that much into like story and character arc stuff like that. But I think The Good Place and Scrubs absolutely does. And also The Good Place also has like that same kind of like life lessons type of deal. But to me, I think that show's way funnier and has more twists and turns and stuff like that. But to me, those shows are also a lot more niche. Like, like, like Community. What? Like, if I try to show that show to 100 people, 20 of them are gonna love it and say it's the best show or best comedy ever, right? The other 80 might be like, whatever.
The other 80 just don't even get it. They're like, I don't understand what these kids are saying.
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah.
Why does that tall guy act like a douchebag all the time?
Yeah, why do they worship him and stuff? Why are they caring? Community, Scrubs, probably more people would like that. I think a lot of people like The Office, but a lot of people don't like The Office, right? To me, a lot of these shows have things that turn people off of it. Like The Office, some people don't like Michael, like, because he can be really annoying. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, I'm fine with The Office, but that, like, as a character, there's a couple of the characters that make me so mad it ruins the whole thing for me. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But to me, Ted Lasso has nothing like that. Like, to me, it's not. It's I don't know. It's just everyone would enjoy watching the show, and I enjoyed it. Like, I can't help but enjoy it. Like, I can't help but watch and have a smile on my face. Also, I'm just like, I don't think this is as great as these other shows I've watched.
Yeah.
But I understand that it has a huge mass appeal.
And it can be, it can be overrated and it can still be great, if that's the case, right? Like, happens all the time. I think it also rides a fine line on the other side of, if you think of like the most popular, it's not a sitcom really, at least not like we think of sitcoms. But if you think of those other kind of comedies with really big mass appeal, but it doesn't have those other sitcom tropes, and it does lots of other things that make it feel like a much higher production value than those. So it's really good at hitting the audience of this type of other comedy, this sort of ensemble comedy that has like a lot of big mass sitcom appeal without doing sitcom-y things, versus a more modern comedy, the clever writing and design and everything, but without turning people off with one of those elements that you described. It's somewhere in between, and I think it does that very nicely.
No.
Do you want to give some ratings first?
I guess you go first.
Wait, no, it doesn't matter. I didn't put any names on it here. I just no names, just a blank slide. Whoever can go first.
I can go first. Were we breaking this down, or have we usually break down?
I was just going to do the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
you got to do the math in your head because I didn't do it in advance, but
it's okay. We'll weight all of these the same, and I'll put comedy in as memorable, sort of, because
that is exactly that comedic element, or that appeal, that sort of charismatic appeal is just an X factor to me. So that's a memorable thing. That's where I was going to go with it.
So story. Story. I might just go 8 on story. For a comedy, I think the story is actually fairly solid. And characters go through some stuff, and that's good to see. So 8 on the story. When it comes to audio visual, which is kind of even hard for me to rate them. Actually, I remember telling you this, like 2 episodes in, I was like, this show doesn't feel like it's shot like a regular show. Like, the cinematography is done really, really well. And it might have just been that second episode Zach Braff directed that second episode. He sort of has like he likes to do a couple different things. And no, I kind of felt it. But overall, the show's filmed very well, beautiful. The acting done is really good. So what else audiovisual wise? I don't know, give that an 8 also.
Yeah, and we can say, audiovisual, that's kind of encompassing general cinematography and direction and all that stuff. That kind of
Yeah.
makes sense in there.
So comedy was really important here. Um, Honestly, I enjoy watching the show a lot. Um, and it has some good humor in it. It's not, I think I laughed out loud before, but I would laugh out loud like the second time around, or certain jokes didn't stick with me. So if I was just looking at like comedy in a sense for the memorable, I would probably give it a 7.5, probably give it an 8. Yeah. But I enjoyed watching the show so much that I think that weighs into my memorable factor to where I'm like, oh, I'll rewatch the show. So I'm going 8.5 on a memorable, which probably gets you to about, if I weighted all those the same, probably 8.2. Yeah, probably like 8.2.
That sounds about right. I'm going to say audiovisual first. I'm going to say 8. It feels very refined and very high quality, but there's not a whole lot of like unique distinction or interesting things that I pick up on, or like most notably would be, the lack of soccer. It would be a big deal in there. So maybe nothing that stands out real good or real bad. So I think 8's fine. Story, as you mentioned, for the type of show that it is, the story is fairly solid. There's lots of sort of, I'm going to say quite a few like very minor gripes. So it's like I do have quite a few of them, but none of them are deal breakers whatsoever. And generally, I like the overall thing that's being told here in season 1. Got some questions about season 2, but in season 1, like what they did. And so I'm going to say 8.5 on story. And then that last memorable piece. And again, to me, I think this is like when I think of memorable for Avatar, this show kind of encompasses what I want like a good memorable to be. That sort of that charming, that inexplicably charming and endearing. And it's funny, but it's not stupid funny. It's not that type of comedy I normally associate myself with. It's memorable. Again, maybe not even in the rewatch sense, but just that the first impact that it has on you for being well done and doing what it's doing. I'll say 9.5 on memorable. I think it whatever that character is, and I've been telling people like endearing or charming is what I've been calling it. Whatever that
without a doubt
characteristic is, it really grabbed me hard. So I'm going to say 9.5. And if my quick math is right, I think that's going to be like an 8.7 or an 8.8. It's going to be one of those two on my weights. So yes, absolutely big fan of Ted Lasso. And even when I started thinking about other people's reviews, it's getting rave reviews, but rave in like very similar to what you and I are doing here. Rave and like it's everybody saying that it's like an A show. It's not anybody saying that it's the best show in the world.
It's a Rotten Tomatoes rave.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's a beautiful description. Is that the 95% of people, like you mentioned, are giving it that thumbs up. Not that anyone's calling it the greatest show of all time or anything like that.
Yeah, I've not heard that.
Yeah, so that's maybe the part where it's hard to say that it's overrated, is because I don't feel like there's a ton of people out there just propping it up on this gold pedestal. It's just that everybody likes this show a lot. The vast majority of human beings like the show a lot, which leads to my ultimate recommendation is that you all should watch it too. And kind of the main reason we're talking about it today. If it hadn't stuck with us like this, we probably would have talked about it and just moved on. But it's good enough that I think everybody needs to watch it once. Use that free trial or wait, I don't know, like 6 more weeks till season 2 is done.
Yeah, I'll get you on the next free trial, Shawn.
Yeah, let's flip-flop free trials. I've really enjoyed binging a show this week. And it's a very bingeable show. Again, it's 30 minutes, 10 episode season. So it kind of just checks all the boxes of like a nice week-long little experience. So like I mentioned, otherwise I don't think we'd be talking about it here. I don't think we would have been interested, but it has a very strange quality to it that seems to make the vast majority of people like it. I'm sure we'll have people jump in and comment down below and say, I didn't like it. It's like, all right, no, that's great. Congratulations, you're in the 5%. But most of the people that watch this show have enjoyed the show. And somewhere HBO Max is very sad, very mad at themselves.
Yeah, and Peacock.
Yeah.
I'm sure they both had. Actually, I think every major studio had a chance at it, but those two, because it's produced by Warner Bros. TV Entertainment, and because it uses a lot of talent from NBC.
It's very vulgar. It would fit in well in HBO in that regard.
I'm sure, yeah, those two specifically are mad. Although I get it, it looks like an expensive show.
It does, and again, when everybody's being pitched to this show idea that's based on soccer in a skit from like 5 years ago or whatever, that was, and I maintain, a mediocre skit, which is fine as skits go. I probably wouldn't have picked it up either, so I get it. Hey, that's really all I have. We just started to do another one-off on you. I know we've had a couple of past few weeks, but it's good enough. We wanted to talk about it. And I had a lot of fun watching through it. My wife watched like half of one episode with me before she left the room. I was like, "Where are you going?" And she's like, "I give up. I'm just gonna have to watch it myself because I'm already hooked." All right. It was like episode 5 or 6 or something like that. She walked in and just caught a few minutes of it, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna watch it through." So, interesting. So, hey, Chris, thanks for letting us review Ted Lasso season 1. Totally worth it in my opinion. Go watch it. In the meantime, my name's Shawn Shaler. I'm super tired. It's very late. Been recording a long time. Tired. That's my friend Chris Ford. He's stretching. I know he's tired.
I'm out.
I'm good. I mean, you could be, right? I'll just cut it out at the end. No, I'm going to put lots of good stuff in the description below about how to get in touch with us. We may or may not have some con stuff, on YouTube last week or next week, depending on when you're watching this. And have a great time. We hope you'll come back and watch us next week. Thank you, everybody.